Attacking me is one thing, but attacking my patients, I will not let that stand. Those were the actual words of Dr. Stephen Courtney, one of America's preeminent orthopedic surgeons and premier FDA-approved surgical tool developer, holding 18 patents and 15 trademarks. When he set out to get justice to protect and defend his stellar professional reputation, after he was maliciously attacked by bogus medical malpractice complaints that the Texas Medical Board later determined to be absolutely false, he fought back and waged a 5-year legal battle that pitted him against his former medical partner, his ex-wife's boyfriend, a former federal prosecutor, and a medical malpractice lawyer, resulting in a landmark $10.9 million verdict victory. This unbelievable legal nightmare story of jealousy, envy, greed, and revenge, burner phones, a former federal prosecutor destroying evidence, a dangerous and irresponsible imposter posing as an FBI agent using the ridiculous name of Inspector Gadget, all of whom used Dr. Courtney's stolen confidential patient information, are just some of the mind-blowing ingredients in this real-life, spine-tingling story of Dr. Courtney successfully winning back his reputation. Today, the Insider Exclusive's Justice in America news team sits down on location in Plano, Texas with Dr. Stephen Courtney, his lawyer Michael Alfred, partner at Barris Law, Stephen's wife Lori, and some of his key staff, to tell why Dr. Stephen Courtney fought so vigorously to protect his reputation, because these predators, using their law licenses and medical degrees as weapons, viciously tried to inflict as much professional embarrassment and financial harm as they could for their own profit, and would have been free to do it again and again to other victims. Today, Dr. Stephen Courtney lets his patients speak for him at his Advanced Spine Center that he opened in February 2018.
My name's Mark DeWitt, and I've known Dr. Courtney for some 5+ years. He's done 2 of my friends' surgeries, and then he did mine as well. Mine was a 4-level cervical fusion, C3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Surgery was perfect. Then, probably an hour after the surgery, I had a clotting issue with my drain tube. Dr. Courtney was called, was back at the hospital within 10 minutes and had me back into emergency surgery where they had to correct the problem. He was thorough, he was precise. I mean, it went off without a hitch.
I had a friend who had had surgery with Dr. Courtney here in the Dallas area, so I got his contact information and I called his office. They were wonderful at the office. They got me in with just a couple of days, and I drove up to the Dallas area, brought all my test results and dropped them off at his office. He reviewed everything, so when I went in to meet with him, he had all the information that he needed and went over everything. And I told him how, scared I was about what they were going to do to me surgery-wise. I told him what the previous doctor had told me and how I just was terrified at what could happen. Dr. Courtney spent probably an hour and a half with me, reviewing all of my test results, showing me everything on the CT scan, talking to me about my prognosis, alleviated so much of my stress and my worry. When I left his office, I felt so much better about what I was facing. So he talked to me in the office about what the procedure was going to be like, what I needed to be doing in the meantime, that his office would take care of, contacting my insurance company and getting everything approved. He talked to me about exactly how the procedure would go, what kind of equipment he was going to use. He talked about how he had his own equipment, why he developed his own equipment, but I had a choice. I didn't have to use his equipment. He had access to other medical equipment that he could use for the implants, and the choice was mine. And so I took some literature from him and read up on it, and I called him back when I went in for my next follow-up appointment and told him I was perfectly comfortable using the equipment that he had developed. So I contacted Dr. Courtney's office. They got me in with in about 48 hours for an appointment. And after we talked about the surgery, made plans for that, I made a decision to go forward with him. I felt very confident in his ability to take care of the problems that I was having and to relieve the pain that I was in. He put me in the hands of his staff. His staff was amazing, getting everything arranged, taking care of the insurance, getting me set up with the hospital. The hospital that I had the surgery done at was awesome. The staff there, again, took great care of me. Dr. Courtney was right there. I had surgery within 2 weeks of seeing him, and when I woke up after surgery, I was 99% pain-free. I was so grateful at that point. Sorry.
What's that? Emotional?
Yeah, I was in such pain. Sorry. Yeah, it's okay.
Talk about it.
Well, the pain was so bad before the surgery. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. When I woke up, I just was so happy that I didn't have that pain. And by the second day, I had no pain whatsoever. It was such an amazing relief, and I was so grateful that he actually did what he said he was going to do. And so now here I am 2.5 years later, and I've had no issues, no problems, no pain whatsoever. I live in Costa Rica now, and I am very active. I go hiking, zip lining, ride my four-wheeler, and I live a very active lifestyle. I put a lot of stress on my body, and I've had no problems whatsoever since I had this surgery.
This is Michael Alfred, and I wanted to take this time to give a unique perspective, not only as Dr. Courtney's lead trial counsel, but also as one of his patients. Dr. Courtney performed a 3-level fusion on my cervical spine on November 8th from my C4 or 5 level to my C6, 7 level. I've had chronic pain for 10 years with a diagnosis of severe stenosis in my cervical spine. And it was getting to be debilitating. I had lost pretty much all feeling in my left arm. The pain, it was radiating through my neck into both shoulder blades and into both arms, all the way down to the hands in both arms. And in particular, on my left side had gotten very severe to where I was losing feeling and having numbness and tingling throughout my whole left arm. We are now 4 weeks and a couple of days removed from my surgery. You can probably still see the scar on my neck from where Dr. Courtney went through to access in what's called an anterior approach for this procedure. And I have to say, for the first time in 10 years, I am spine pain free. I view this as somewhat of a miracle. I cannot believe I was living through chronic pain the way I did for 10 years. And within the past couple of years, it's gotten significantly worse. And I just couldn't be more proud of Dr. Courtney and the job that he did, and just had to share that. So I wanted the viewers to see that in addition to proudly representing him as his attorney of record through everything that he went through for over a 5-year period, and it's still going since 2016, that, in addition to representing him, I'm proud that he was my surgeon and did an extremely complicated case and had a very successful result. And I am just thrilled.
This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Plano, Texas. is my great pleasure to introduce Mike Alford to the show. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you, Steve.
Tell our audience a little bit about your law firm, it's Veris Law, and what you guys practice.
My partner, Jack Stick, and I formed our firm in January of this year. So we've been going, I guess now, for about 11 months. We specialize in complex, commercial, sophisticated business litigation with an emphasis on healthcare business disputes, representing physicians, physician groups, surgery centers, hospitals, practice groups. We also do a lot of construction law in typical business, contractual and fiduciary duty defense work and or prosecuting those claims. And we have found that in the business setting, there's not a whole lot of difference between a plaintiff and a defendant, because typically a defendant will have a good counterclaim and the plaintiff will have a good initial case, and that's kind of what we specialize in.
We are here today to talk about a really big case of yours, and it involves Dr. Stephen Courtney. Tell our audience a little bit about Dr. Courtney.
Well, Dr. Courtney is a twice or double board certified spine surgeon. He has been a very accomplished spine surgeon in the North Texas area located in Plano. He was originally with a group called Plano Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Center, a very esteemed, well thought of group of physicians here in Plano, Texas, and was with them for close to 20 years, and then spun off on his own, frankly, as a result of the case that we're here to talk about. And he has been very successful going out on his own. He also started his own hospital, Eminent Medical Center. He also has his own device company called Eminent Spine that is also very successful. So Dr. Courtney is a very sophisticated, smart businessman in addition to an excellent surgeon.
Tell us about the case.
Around 2016, when Dr. Courtney discovered that he believed anyway, or suspected, that his patient charts had been accessed unlawfully by somebody. He had a good suspicion as to who it was, but he started getting multiple medical board complaints and multiple alleged malpractice letters, all from the same source. And he came to me through a friend that had referred him to me. And one of the first words were, "Mike, somebody's accessed my charts." So I said, okay, this is unusual. Let's dig into it. And the more we dug into it, and the more complaints began to arise with the Texas Medical Board from patients who thought lovingly of Dr. Courtney, supported him. There'd be no basis for those types of complaints coming from these patients. And then 3 lawsuits were filed against him by the same attorney, patients who had no connection to one another. We started looking into it and thought, this is crazy. This is weird.
Now, this same attorney, who is the attorney, by the way?
Kelly Libby, who would ultimately be a defendant in this case.
It seemed kind of odd, right? I mean, you're a lawyer. That all these, there were 24 or 25 medical complaints filed against Dr. Courtney. I think it's important to understand that many of these patients didn't even know that there was a complaint filed. They weren't involved with filing the complaint.
Correct.
That is so out there that I can't believe it, that the attorney would not know that this would come back on her, right? It's amazing. I will say, jumping ahead here, that all of those claims, most of them were, the great majority of them were dismissed without merit. They had no merit, right?
Correct.
Back to the story, he suspects that they're coming from some insider, right?
Yes.
Who is that insider?
That was another physician at the same clinic, Plano Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Center. His name was Dr. Cameron Carmody, and he was the other spine surgeon at what we call POSMIC, Plano Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Center. That practice had 2 of multiple specialties. There would be 2 hip guys, 2 ankle guys, 2, you know, on, and there were 2 spine surgeons that were there, and that was Dr. Courtney, my client, and Dr. Carmody, who would also be another defendant in this case.
So let me stop you there. He was accessing illegally Dr. Courtney's client database.
Yes, Dr. Courtney alleged that he was violating HIPAA, violating other health laws to access those charts. And it turns out when this was discovered in 2016, Dr. Carmody had been accessing Dr. Courtney's charts without authority, as Dr. Courtney has alleged, and ultimately a jury concluded the same, going back since 2008.
Almost 1,500, a little over 1,500 clients. Now, what's the motivation for him accessing this database that he wasn't supposed to?
Right. Dr. Courtney started his own device company, as I mentioned earlier, in 2008. In that device company's Eminent Spine, there was jealousy between the 2 physicians over that. Dr. Carmody was jealous of Dr. Courtney starting his own device company. And from that point on, Dr. Carmody hired a lawyer of his own who would be another defendant in this case.
And he was a former assistant U.S. attorney. His name is what?
Bill McMurray.
Let me stop you here. From my understanding, supposedly Dr. Carmody went to him and said, I think basically I know there's a doctor in the clinic where I work that may be putting profit ahead of safety, right? By putting his own devices in the patients that he was treating. And guess what? I've come up with 3, or a number of them, cases where one of them died in the surgery room.
That's what Dr. Carmody alleged.
So it was proving his case to this former U.S. attorney.
The patient who wound up passing away did not occur until 2015, and it was from cardiac arrest unrelated to the procedure that was being performed. But in 2008, though, when Dr. Carmody began accessing Dr. Courtney's charts without authority and working with Bill McMurray, Dr. Carmody believed that there were various compliance problems with using your own devices and or getting approval from the Food and Drug Administration for that. And so he went to Dr. Carmody went to Bill McMurray, and they started using this information to try to get Dr. Courtney criminally prosecuted under federal law.
Now, let me ask you, doctors go to medical school to learn how to be doctors. Now we've got this Dr. Carmody, who all of a sudden becomes a silent investigator. And he is trying to get Dr. Courtney prosecuted, as you mentioned, criminally. Why is he doing this? What's the motivation?
Based on the evidence that came out through the prosecution of the case and the deposition testimony, it became apparent that, again, Dr. Carmody was jealous of Dr. Courtney. They competed for referrals within the same practice. Dr. Carmody became an investor in a competing spine company. And there was Dr. Courtney with his spine company, or spine device company, that was taking off and having a lot of good initial early success.
So it was kind of all about money, wasn't it?
I mean, when is money not part of the motivation? But I think there was professional jealousy, frankly, as well, that was driving it too. Because Dr. Carmody and Dr. Courtney initially got along. When Dr. Carmody joined Plano Orthopedics for the first few years, they got along well, but it seemed to turn when Dr. Courtney started his own spinal device company.
Congratulations on the win, the victory. And we're so glad to be doing the show, and I really appreciate you for being on the show.
Thank you.
We have your clients here and some of their staff. So right now we're going to bring on Dr. Stephen Courtney and his wife, Lori.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
It is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Stephen Courtney and his wife, Lori. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I want to thank you very much for being here with us today, because this is a remarkable case. As I mentioned to Steve, you never go to medical school expecting that one of your colleagues may be totally invested in destroying your career.
That's correct.
And you're kind of baffled about the whole thing. But let me ask you this. We've covered all the legal angles of this case with your lawyer, Mike Alford. How did this affect you? And walk us through, both you and your husband, walk us through when you first got a complaint from one of your clients. And I want to address one thing. There's no doctor on this earth that hasn't lost a client sometime, you know, in surgery, something unrelated, as the client was unrelated, their death. Walk us through how you saw this unfold.
I was with a big, large orthopedic group here in Plano. We're all subspecialized, and Dr. Carmody was an orthopedic surgeon, a spine surgeon as well. So
One of your colleagues.
one of my colleagues did, exactly. So
And I understand in the beginning, you guys hit it off.
exactly. So he was there from 2001, and then in 2008, I started my own spine company, Eminent Spine, which is a manufacturer of spinal implants, and that I think it was a trigger point for them to start doing what they were doing.
Well, let me ask you a question. As I understand it, at your old clinic, there were 2 spine surgeons, there were 2 knee surgeons or whatever, right? So when a patient comes into the clinic, right, who gets the case? Is it just arbitrary, okay, this is your case, this is your case, or do they come into the clinic and say, I want Dr. Courtney?
Right, it's a combination of both. If I was in clinical on Tuesday or Thursday, I would see the patient, or if a patient specifically asks for me, because I've been here for such a long time, they would be on my schedule. So it depends who's available.
Yeah, because I'm trying to understand why Dr. Carmody, who was your colleague, who started this whole thing, why he would even invest time rather than complimenting you on inventing FDA-approved medical devices, right?
Correct.
Why do you think he was motivated to do this?
I've been doing biomechanics for 37 years, and some people don't see that. They see me as a spine surgeon, but in my background, I have a very wealth of knowledge in biomechanics and how implants are developed. So in 2008, when I started this journey of making my own spinal implants, I think he just got very jealous that I was able to do this. And that level of expertise to do that is just not just given away. And I don't think he could do it. We were both very busy spine surgeons. I just think he got consumed with me developing implants. And also number 2 is getting them approved by the FDA. And I'm very efficient at doing that. And I do it myself with few consultants, if you will. But the root of the whole cause is I do the biomechanics, I do the testing for different facilities, and I know how to test it. And that book of spine business is a niche. So I don't think he could do it. I think he wanted to be me, but he just got jealous of me doing this, and I think he felt just very overwhelmed that I was able to do it and he couldn't do it, and just felt jealous and he couldn't do it.
You, Lori, are a healthcare professional too.
Yes, I am.
What are some of your credentials that you have?
At the time then at Plano Orthopedic, I worked as his medical assistant. As we left and started our own practice, I became practice manager. I'm still medical assistant, and I went back to school and I have my x-ray license. So I do x-ray tech.
Now you've discovered that he is the culprit.
Correct.
What do you guys do at that time? You're not involved with lawyers yet, right?
No, at that time I brought it to the board of an orthopedic group, and they found that out and he was expelled within a month.
Did you ever confront him personally?
No, it did not, because it happened so fast, and we found out so quickly. And then when I got that information, I gave it to the board of pain orthopedics, and within 1 month he was voted off. He was expelled from our group because that behavior, it just number one, it just is not logical.
When you say expel, fired.
He was terminated from the practice.
After that, he then filed suit against me and Plain Orthopedics about a month later.
For wrongful termination.
Something similar like that, I'm sure.
At this time, you are involved with a lawyer. You have somebody representing you.
Yes, we did.
And what was being done then?
At that point, we were still investigating how many charges he had penetrated.
The internal audit was a long process.
Long process like what? How long?
Months.
Probably closer to a year.
This is after he's terminated, correct? And now you're dealing with another lawsuit that he's suing you personally and the clinic for terminating him, right? Okay. So let me ask you something. You know, your goal in life and what you love the most, and you're very unique, is doing surgery and inventing medical devices. Now you're dealing with something totally unrelated to never even dreamed of in your career chart, right? What are you thinking about? What are you talking about with each other?
It was shocking. There were times in clinic, we'd say, if you were our patient, we would see you on Tuesday. You schedule a follow-up appointment to come back in 2 weeks. And 2 days later, we get a Texas Medical Board complaint filed by you. It just didn't make any sense.
Many times those people did not know.
They did not know. Their PHI was stolen. It was trafficked, and they were using it to make fake complaints, trying to intimidate him to settle.
Let's talk about Jonathan Root. Okay, what was his motivation?
His motivation, he was a live-in boyfriend with my ex-wife. We've been married for 22 years. She had addiction issues. I've received full custody of my children. I have 5 children.
She had anger issues.
She had anger issues, and so this Jonathan Root character.
He wanted to be the hero.
He wanted to be the hero to help her out. I never met the person ever.
That's kind of weird because he has no professional credential. He's a scammer.
Everyone that came into the case, he would file complaints.
Now let's talk about Libby, the lawyer, the medical malpractice lawyer. It sounds crazy that she would file these complaints on behalf of people that they're not even complaining.
She dug 3 of these patients up, 3 over. They would cold call these patients. Root would call them out of the blue, and then they'd feed those patients' names to Libby, and she'd sign them up.
It's in her own text messages. She admits it.
Yeah, it's in her text message. She signed up 3 of them, only 3, and 3 of them were still bogus complaints anyway. But they want their money too. But Libby's job is...
They were extorting money from you, basically.
Extorting money that she just left on her own started her own law firm in 2016. And that's when the stuff started going on. And her dad, who's apparently an influential attorney here in town, told her not to do it back in 2011. In 2016, she started a law firm. She got the hit list. And she went through the list in detail.
Well, she had the list in 2011.
Right.
She held on to it.
Well, this show is going to help you because nobody's ever heard you talk like this.
This scenario, how this developed, is a bizarre story. Even I'm in it. Sometimes I have a hard time understanding it.
You can't apply rational thought to irrational behavior. And there's,
I'm not killing people in the backyard, throwing them in the creek, using them as creek filler. I'm not doing that. I'm not killing people. Just these crazy things, and then Channel 8, because of this crazy hit job on me, comparing me to Dr. Death, he got exactly what he deserved, to be thrown in jail. The guy was that's a different discussion, but do not compare me to that guy. Right. I'm a guy who's very passionate what I do. I help my patients. I've been here for 28 years in Plano, Texas. Mm-hmm. I'm smart enough to understand medicine, I understand people, I understand how implants are made and designed. I compete against multi-million-dollar companies as implant company. I know how the whole thing works. But when these people try to come attack me with jealousy and greed, little situation, that's a different discussion. Especially all the people they hurt, not just me and my family. Our patients, they are pissed.
I think too, as far as complaints against physicians, you said once you put it on the internet, it's out there. After the trial win, the phones were ringing here from all across the country, other physicians.
In support of you.
In support and to ask for help because they have similar situations, that they're facing false complaints. A physician in Fort Worth was also compared to Dr. Death, and he did nothing wrong. And so he's calling us saying, what did y'all do?
Maybe you ought to become lawyers.
They thought wrong. I'm not voting on anything. If it doesn't smell right where I'm from, it's not right. If it doesn't smell right, this is not correct here. And what these people did is illegal, it's wrong, it's unethical. And they thought they were going to get away with it. And they didn't get caught. They got caught. They start crawfish tailing back off each other, pointing fingers at each other.
They all blamed each other.
They're destroying computers. They're destroying burner phones. They're destroying the list. Kelly Libby put her list in the poopy dopper at her healthcare daycare thing. Yeah. Like, what is this? John Bruce burning boxes of stuff in his front yard, in his backyard, medical records, because he didn't want to get caught. They got caught, and they should be held accountable for what they did in this area. This mess is not going away.
In some of Libby's text messages that were found throughout the case, she was texting the other side counsel saying she was trying to get his license. She wanted to take his license, and she wanted to get him indicted because if he gets indicted, his insurance will pay. So she was trying to manufacture this class action lawsuit.
Evil.
You do not do that. She should not be practicing.
Forging Texas State Board complaints and submitted him to the Collin County Court as legal documents.
That's what they're sanctioned for. But a minuscule amount of money, what, $5,000?
$5,000 for Libby and $1,000 for Franco, but both also have 10 hours of ethical training, continuing legal education.
Well, we certainly hope that this may be on the road to justice, in our series, because more people, this is outrageous.
It's happened throughout the United States. So if you have a competitor against you, or against someone who just doesn't like you, or just obsessed with you, like
single white female, fatal attraction.
That's disturbing. That's not right in medicine.
We have with us today also your son, Brent, and your right-hand PA person, Megan Whitmore, correct? We're going to bring them on right now. It is my great pleasure to introduce Brent Courtney and Megan Whitmore. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Brent, you work with your dad. You have a distributorship, a separate company. What is that company?
GTR Medical Group.
What does it do?
It's a device distributorship. It's for pedicle screws, cages, stuff like that for the spine.
Your dad has invented.
Correct.
And that's Eminent Spine Company. Right?
Correct. And then I also have a tissue bank, so I can sell human tissue, donor tissue throughout Texas and also the U.S.
And who do you sell it primarily to? Labs?
Hospitals, ASCs, other distributorships.
And they use it for bone grafting usually?
Correct.
Now, Megan, you work right here, don't you?
I do, yes.
And you are a physician assistant, right? Certified.
I am.
And what exactly do you do here in the clinic?
So we see clinic patients on Tuesday, Thursdays. I'm with Dr. Courtney, but then I'll see my own patients. And then Friday is PA clinic. So I see all the patients on Friday. But it's just, we see about like 20 or so on our clinic days, and then we operate Monday, Wednesday. So I am doing all like the pre-ops, getting everything ready for surgery Monday, Wednesday, and then seeing all the patients.
So the reason we're here today is this horrible nightmare of a story that your dad went through, your whole family went through, which was very unjust, false accusations. And how did that affect you? I'm going to ask both of you. How did it affect you in the clinic, in your business? Was there any reverberations from him being accused of being a bad doctor, et cetera, in Eminent Spine?
Yes, so it absolutely did. So I actually lost several accounts when the original story was ran on the GTR medical side. And at the same time, 2016 is whenever we launched the hospital, Eminent Medical Center in Richardson. We were at a network, which was difficult because you can't get in network because it takes time to deal with the insurance payers and negotiations and stuff like that. So we had some physicians still believe in what we were doing and what Dr. Courtney was doing with the hospital side. And then we had some physicians who just stepped back, walked away, didn't believe what we were doing and didn't want to be a part of it. Which is very difficult. When our first case was actually October 31st of 2016, and then 2017 it was it was very, very, very difficult to keep pushing, keep going, especially when physicians and colleagues and stuff like that were not really standing behind them.
Being in the clinic for how long, a year?
A little over a year.
A little over a year. You obviously are very familiar with this story. And when they came down with a verdict of $10.89 million, obviously that was justification for all the false accusations that have been made against Dr. Courtney, right? Did you get any feedback from any of your clients? Did it affect your client base?
It kind of shows you, like, there's some patients that they've followed the case over the years and that they are like very big supporters of Dr. Courtney. And so if they bring it up, then, we'll discuss it. It shows you who your true, supporters are and things like that.
It's amazing. In the last 17 years, we have done a lot of stories, medical malpractice cases, legitimate ones, in any profession, whether it's in the police, whether it's the teaching field or legislative field or whatever, even in the medical field, there are bad people, incompetent, negligent people, right? And rightfully so, they were pursued and prosecuted in the whole 9 yards. But it is amazing, this story. This is why we wanted to do this story, because you have an excellent, well-respected doctor, falsely accused for all the wrong reasons, right? And now justice has come out. Now it's up to not only our story, but any other story that's done to bring out, to bring that good news out there. Because as you know, bad news always sells. It's headline news. When someone's acquitted of something, when someone's, the story is actually the truth, shows that they were telling the truth, that's on the back page. And your experience, I'm sure when that verdict came out, you must have been really joyful about that, right?
I was there and I was very excited. Very excited.
And still, one of the reasons we're doing this story is some of those lawyers, some of those individuals like Jonathan Root, like Libby, right? Still have not been properly taken care of in terms of having their licenses revoked or whatever, right? Any other final remarks about this whole experience that you've been through?
It's been very challenging for myself, brothers, sisters, obviously, my father, Dr. Courtney. I'm sure it's been hell, but we've all stuck together. I feel like as a family, we kind of came a little bit closer together and kind of supported each other in different certain ways. But it's just been a wild ride, to say the least, and hopefully justice gets served and these guys that are out there get what's deserved.
Right. Well, I want to thank both of you for being on the show, and keep up the good work. And hopefully we'll get everyone believing the true story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is my great pleasure to introduce Steve Courtney again to the show, and one of his clients and a well-known gymnast, Sydney Ewing. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about Sydney here. She's a patient of yours, well-known gymnast. You've treated the family in 3 generations.
No, that's correct.
Tell us about her.
So I met Sydney through her dad, Steve Ewing, and he's my age. I'm 59. Steve, he's probably 58 now, but he's a diehard Florida Gators fan. He played football at the University of Gainesville, Florida. I'm a diehard LSU individual, but I met Steve here in this area. Just been around this area, but me and Steve, we went to many LSU football games and Florida games together. And as life's gone by, he has children too, and so I know Steve through the Football Association just because we like LSU and Florida football games. I met Sydney, his daughter. I think Steve has 3 children, and so Sydney's number 1. And then when she was about this tall, I'd go over to Steve's house and watch her flip around on the carpet. Like, I'm not sure what she's doing over there, Steve, but she's doing something. But yeah. So, she grew up, and so she became a gymnast, is a gymnast. I treated Sydney when she was 15, 16 years old. and she ended up having a pars fracture, which is very common in gymnasts. You know, and these gymnast people, they're wired a little bit different, like bull riders. You know, they're strong as bulls. They don't want to listen to you very often because they're just so competitive, and they're a different breed of people. That's just the way they are. We have a lot of those people here in Plano. So I met Sydney and I had to get her to calm down, let it heal, take some time, rest it for a little bit, take some steroids, the right dose, the right type.
Did she pay attention?
Not so much the first time. And then the second time she starts listening and said you got to just take a day off or two of gymnast, you know, because she's very competitive at that point in the stage in her career because that's how they train. They train every day. So it finally calmed down for her. And then she went to Michigan State, was a 4-year letter person there at Michigan State, gymnast. And she's been working with me for the last 6 months as a marketing director of Eminent Spine. Also, she goes to the shows with me throughout the nation and also internationally to Mexico. So she's my right-hand person, if you will, spokesperson for Eminent Spine. That's how I met her a long time ago. And Steve's dad, I've known him many years before. He's elderly, probably 86 now, 83 at the time I was treating him. I've treated him with steroid injections, steroid medication. They just try to get him over that hump, but neither one of those three people need to have back operation because you have pain. Just because you have back pain doesn't mean you need a back operation. So, and for these people, I had to get them to calm down, a little high strung. So it takes a while for them to listen, and they did. So they've been a lot better now.
How do you like your new job?
I love it. I'm thankful to be here. Yeah, I'm glad he gave me an opportunity and just wanted to help people.
Yeah.
Let him know that, and he gave me the chance, and I've been loving it ever since.
The field of gymnastics is a field that requires a lot of discipline, doesn't it? I see that you were competing in bars, floor, and the vault.
Yes, that's throughout college.
You've been doing that since you were a kid. It came natural.
Yes, I started when I was very young, probably around 3, 4.
You've been a patient here too.
Yes.
So are you limited in what you can do now?
No.
No.
Completely healed. Super thankful he took a conservative approach. I did listen. Something that was really funny as well, right when I came in, my first question was, when can I practice again? That's all I wanted to know. When was I good to go?
Now that you are working here and marketing director, right, of Eminent Spine, right, what do you tell people about Dr. Courtney?
I always say he's the man that does it all. Yeah, because it's true. He owns a hospital, runs it well. We have surgeries. I'm in the operating room with him as a salesperson as well, so I get to see those surgeries up front, which is cool.
Do you use some testimonials from the website, to show people what they think of Dr. Courtney?
Sometimes it depends because they are different. Yeah. Eminent Spine and Advanced Spine are different sections. You know, one's medical devices and one's the clinic side. So I try not to mix that stuff. Most of the social media comes straight from Eminent Spine. What we make, what we sell, kind of who we are. So there is a separation there, but I mean, he's involved in all of it. So once you meet him, you kind of get to know what he does.
And that's one thing you casually mentioned to me. You're involved in marketing too.
Oh, yes.
Are you marketing to hospitals as well as doctors?
Yes, we are. We're marketing to hospital systems. We also market to sales reps. We also market to distributors. We also sell international too in Mexico. So we were just down there approximately 6 weeks ago for the National Spine meeting in Mexico. They had me come down there, and a lot of the Mexican surgeons down there are very grateful, and they're very, very, very well educated. We do cadaver labs too, so Sydney's involved in that too. That we have surgeons come out of different places in Central America, do cadaver labs with us to show them how to use the implants and how to use the technique and the implants in the right way.
You must be buried with all this information.
It was a lot to learn. I'm still learning. I've learned a lot, but got a lot to go still.
You can appreciate it because of what you did before, your gym.
Right, yes. I had quite a few injuries myself, so it's kind of seeing what goes into it.
I had to go to all these shows myself. This year we probably went to 15 shows. Some I go by myself, and now she's going with me now. And people behind the booth at the other booth said, I can't believe Dr. Courtney actually got someone working with you today. So well, I'll find someone who can run as much as I can. Yeah. So she's been a very blessing to work as hard as I am, because she is disciplined in what she does. Yeah. I'm a very disciplined, structured person. So she has the energy to pull it off, and she's done a very good job with me.
Well, I am very impressed. You know, I mean, you're amazing. And thank God you have someone following with you, huh?
You have to have that energy.
Yeah, that's what he calls it. He calls it the fever.
Yeah, the fever.
Yeah.
We have the fever at Emmett Spine.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being on the show.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.